Ladies and gentlemen, like I said previously, no matter what, I can't be bought or sold. I'll stand by what I mean and I'll stand by you. So, yeah, unfortunately, Sunstroke was not happy about it and about the whole thing, and he had to make a huge rant about it. Now, I will not exactly put his video into mine. I will cover it and I will leave the link to his video down in the description, so if you want to watch it and see what's really going on. But a lot of viewers watch him because they are not very much enjoying what he does, and that's why I will leave it out of my video. But again, if you want to watch it from the source whole thing, I will leave it down in the description, so you can feel free to do so. However, I will go over what I have perceived to be the case from this video, and of course, to not miss anything out, I have indeed wrote down what I feel like was the case, so just simply to not forget what's going on. Now, what I feel like is the tone of his video is it's framed like a takedown and not just a disagreement. He repeatedly uses words like liar, aggressor, does it for views, cries victim, and things like that. And that's just those are character attacks. Those are personal insults, and not, there isn't any constructive criticism in that. He's trying to position himself as the reasonable party while I am, quote unquote, being dishonest, and just trying to portray me as a liar in the entirety. And of course, I have to make a response video because that's just quite simply not the truth. However, despite what he's doing, I would politely ask that you do not go after him, that you do not harass him or do anything such in my name. If you feel free to you can voice your thoughts in my comments, but I do not really wish for you to go and attack the guy or anything like that. That's not what we are here for. If he is not going to be professional, if developers are not going to be professional, I'm going to be, and I think we should be as well. I think we should be bigger people, because other people's bad action do not justify ours. So now, with that being said, I want to go over with a bit more of things that are going on in his video. Now, he's putting in some screenshots, and he's cherry picking, and he's very selective and takes out some extras that help build his narrative and his version of events. He's completely taking out any and all context behind it, and he's trying to frame it as, I got screenshots. If Valve responds, I got screenshots. Well, if he's got screenshots and he's implying that he's allowed to share them, the developers are okay with it, then I will just go ahead, and in this video I will make a timestamp so you can go and check everything that led up to my departure from all the official roles, so you can really see how it's going on behind the scenes, how he is behind the scenes, and just really under the wraps, so you can see what's up. I did not want to post it, but if and I didn't even make a follow-up video after my last one because I wanted to move on from it. But if they want to keep on beating the dead horse, okay, let's just finish it, and let's just be over with it completely. Now, of course, he's trying to call me a hypocrite because he misunderstands my previous points. I said that there is a difference between negativity and constructive criticism, and that constructive criticism is good and should be present, while negativity and things like, just very simple things, for example, he was kicked out from playtest because he was harassing other playtesters if they say something that he disagrees with. He was calling developers mental, insane, and things like that. Those are not constructive things, those are insults. Those are very negative things, and that's what I was calling out, but I wasn't calling out things like constructive criticism. For example, if something, let's say a new bot is bad, it's okay to say, hey, due to certain factors, it's not good. And we can take, for example, Armada Scavenger and Armada Wheeljack. Namely, I presented them for what they were. In a constructive way, I said, hey, this is a flawed design, and these are things that they can be improved upon, etc. I meant a very detailed way to cover it, while he decided to pretty much say, oh, this is utter garbage, what are they thinking, in his style. And he portrayed it as that's objectively speaking the truth, and is if I'm sugarcoating it. No, I disagree with it, and again, I believe there is a clear difference between constructive criticism and negativity, and between a professional approach to something that is just quite simply not up to the standard, and of course putting your own personal feelings into it and pretty much doing things like the way that he ended up doing. And instead of acknowledging any points that I made, he instead wants to undermine my credibility by repeatedly calling me a liar, that I'm crying shadow nerves when there are none. and such things. And well, what he's referring to is my video that was calling out the practice of making changes to the game regardless of what they are, but in that case they were nerfs, and just quite simply not informing anyone. I argue that if something is made to the public version of the game, live version that people are able to play, that it should be publicly told. Basically, I play a lot of games. Okay, I'm a huge gamer. It's tens of thousands of hours on certain games, and nerfs and buffs are a normal part of the thing. I said that. However, when nerfs and buffs happen, they are either posted in advance so that people know what to expect, or if there are some emergency patches, when something is super overpowered, it's literally game breaking, then patch it out and say upon releasing the patch, hey, we had to change that because that was just too much. That's what I'm arguing for, that such the transparency, that builds trust. Doing things without informing people, such changes, nerfs, whatever, that builds distrust, and that's why people are unhappy. That's why people want to quit the game. That's why people have such mentality, and those things will lead, doing things behind the scenes, like that, the shadow nerfs, whatever they are. It's just not good, and it builds distrust. Now, Dale said that what I went over was supposed to be dropped in winter. Well, here we have a patch, again, patch notes that I went over in my previous video from them. It said midsummer patch, it doesn't say winter. And again, July 17, 2025, the balance patch. So everything from this patch, everything made it into the live version of the game. But somehow, for whatever reason, here again, it says midsummer patch and it goes over this, right? Again, midsummer patch and it goes over all this. So I don't think what's the issue here. I'm going over what is officially published, what's the official information given to us. Again, midsummer patch, that doesn't say winter. So the way I see it is they are caught, and they are just quite simply trying to get away with it. But of course, this is their information. This is what they provided us. This is what I'm going off of. So he's trying to argue that I should have asked Dale and people like that for clarification. Well, again, that goes. My entire point is that things and changes are made to the public version of the game. People shouldn't be begging the developers to tell them what's up. Developers should let people know what's actually going on. That's the communication that I'm advocating for. That's what he refuses to acknowledge. Either refuses or cannot acknowledge such complicated points. But regardless, again, here are the patch notes from 16 hours ago, okay? So let's see, those changes that I went over have been for a couple of days, and this went again, this is out 16 hours ago. So let's see if they have acknowledged it, at least, what I was talking about. Okay, so we have event information, okay, team update, okay, yeah, they're going out, shocker. And here we have bug fixes, okay? He's arguing that it was a bug fix and not a nerf. Again, that doesn't matter. My point was not about the nerfs, it was about doing things stealthily, in shadow, without telling people, without communicating. That was my point, regardless of it's a buff, nerf, or bug fix, whatever. But let's get over to it again. Now they had a chance to elaborate on it, so let's see if they did. Trailbreaker and Exhaust. Okay, so they talk about Trailbreaker and Exhaust. Alright. Then they talk about Ruination and God Neptune, about his colors, how they behave, etc. General bug fixes, they go over Inferno and Rodimus Unicronus, Motion Sensing Mines, Sentius Twins, Wreck Guy and Junk Heap, Grimlock and Razorclaw. Okay, then they go over God Neptune and Ruination abilities again. Okay, fine. And we are also aware of Trailbreaker not being affected by FFD. Okay, so they go with Trailbreaker again. So, and restored Sentius behavior, okay, fixed Galvatron's transformation, fixed Skyling's blitzing not being able to target HQ, fixed AI of rockets off Brawn and full tilt. We are aware of broken in-game animation, we'll fix this as soon as possible, okay. And then they go to the web store bundles, okay, then we have Saga schedule, and then we have pretty much reached the end of the list. So they still did not inform anyone about what's going on, and it just further emphasizes my point on communication and transparency with the players. Again, that's why people are showing support for me, and because I actually stand by the players, because I know what games are supposed to be, I know the standard, okay, And especially in regards to Transformers Artworks content creation, I think he is displeased. Well, this is what another player said, but I think he may be onto something. That the fact that I'm a new guy who started making videos basically 6 months ago on Transformers Artworks, and all of a sudden I've set up a new standard of content creation that people love, adore, really. So I feel like that's also some certain way that frames it and makes it even more personal for him, because at the end of the video he says things like, I don't like the guy, I'm glad he is out. Well, I'm also glad to be out because I can finally speak for the players and be uncensored and really go over everything. And again, what I was getting from the official content creation program was roughly about 2% of the views, according to YouTube statistics. I went over to that in a previous video, and I'm sorry to say, but I'm not out. I'm not out at all. I'm still in the game, and it's gonna be fun. But yeah, now let's continue, go over everything else. Now he also had problem with my tier list, mainly because people agreed with mine and did not agree with his. So he's saying that, pretty much implying that there is something like in regards to positivity and tier list, that there is a certain right way to do it, right? Which disregards his previous thing that says that, opinions are valid and personal always. So it kind of paints even more hypocrisy from his part, and which is really ironic that he's pretty much trying to portray me as a hypocrite. That's not really quite the best look for him. Now his claim is that I did it for the views. He's using that speculation to present it as a fact. When in fact, again, I went over it previously, and again, if I would be doing something for views, I wouldn't be doing it on Transformers Artworks. This is a very small game with very small community. If I want just views, I'd do something that's mainstream. That's something that's gonna appeal to more people. I'm doing Transformers Artworks out of passion, and quite simply, out of the game that I love, and out of the game that I know you guys love. I want to have fun with, but unfortunately, it's not going quite in the right place. So being silent does not equal being positive, and being critical does not equal being negative. It is more nuanced, and there is definitely more nuanced approach to the entire thing, which is what I'm going over. When developers do something good, I praise them. When they do something bad, I criticize them, but I do not call them insane like he does, and things like that. That further adds to the hypocrisy that he is pretty much trying to portray. And there are, of course, cases of double standards where he is accusing me of being argumentative and manipulative, yet he shows arguments in which he engages and he just excuses it. Again, further double standards and hypocrisy, really not the best look. And again, in regards to shadow nerfs, he's trying to imply that I'm calling developers deceitful and malicious. I'm calling the practice of such things, of not communicating hurtful, to the trust of the community. If he perceives it that way, that's on him, if he wants to dumb it down in such a sense. But I disagree with it. Again, I feel like it's more nuanced and more complicated than he portrays it, and I'm showing it from a view of a player. Okay, I'm not paid employee, a content creator, whatever. I'm just a player. I'm showing what players feel like, and I'm showing it from that sense. Again, I can't be bought or sold. And of course, he's obviously having some personal bias and problems with things like, I don't like the guy and I'm glad he's out. I went over that previously, but again, I feel like I've already went over it. So yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about the entire thing. So yeah, like I said, I made no follow-ups to this. I wanted to let go of it. I made even a community post trying to move on, with streaming something else. Keep videos on Transformers Artworks, but stream something else that I find more fun. But again, he felt like it shouldn't be let go, and I suppose he has the support of developers. I do not know. It's an assumption. I'm not saying that as a fact, because obviously he's there again, the de facto guy. And so if he's allowed to do certain things like that, well, now that I'm off the hook, I'm just gonna do what I feel like is right, and really show what's really going on and the nuances behind it. So I guess you can I'll show you now what really went down, what really led to my departure. So again, let me know down in the comments how do you feel about the entire thing. But yeah, I'll show you again. It's recorded as a video, so feel free to pause if you need to really read what's going on. But again, it's recorded, so it's not cut. It's not edited. It's not cherry picked like he does. I'm gonna show you absolutely everything that led up to my departure, and yeah, that's pretty much it.